literally turn around and brigade. All right, let's watch this shit.
Into hard news. I hate it. We're having such a good time, and now we're gonna fight. And now I'm gonna make you fight again. But it's okay. But I got to talk about the muzzle laws. There's these laws that are been introduced in a number of states to not talk about critical race theory. Now, critical race theory, I must say, to begin with, I hadn't heard the term probably a year ago. Now I hear it every day. I think Americans are just starting to hear it. And I think no one knows exactly what it is. They know it has something to do with race, and it's some kind of a theory. Right? How would you describe it? And then we'll ask, how would you describe it? What is critical race theory?
I will admit that I read a lot of critical race theory in law school. So, you know, the work of Derek Bell or Gene Stefanczyk
this is
and
the
Richard
stuff
Delgado.
No one knows but you and 6 other people.
Right. So,
but what matters is what is it practically? It's being taught in schools or some form of.
Yes, there's a certain sort of crystallized version of it that is a lot less complex than what critical race theory actually is. But critical race theory essentially argues that racism is baked into all the systems of American society and that any sort of neutral system is, in fact, a guise for racial power. And so the argument is made by Derek Bell, for example, that Brown versus Board of Education, this is an argument he made in 1991, that Brown versus Board of Education was actually a way for the white community to leverage its own power. It wasn't an attempt to end segregation in public schools. Even things that are purportedly good in terms of race, so long as they uphold these broader systems, things like capitalism or things like the meritocracy, these things are actually just guises for power. And so what that boils down to in sort of practical terms is all disparity equals discrimination. If you can see any stat where black people are underperforming white people, this means the system was set up for the benefit of white people and that white people have a duty.
Okay, it's actually pretty simple, okay? It's actually pretty simple. And I will describe it to you in Ben Shapiro type terms so that all of the people that love how fast-talking Ben Shapiro is will also now think that I am the captain and very intelligent myself. 1, there's either extrinsic or intrinsic factors that pertain to the success rates amongst black people and white people. Okay? It's that simple. You're either saying that there are external factors such as systemic racism or internal factors such as their genealogy. Okay? Internal factors or intrinsic factors that you believe personally are contributing to black people failing at higher rates than white people implies that you are a racist, that you somehow think that black people are racially inferior and therefore are not allowed to succeed in America. External factors means that you believe in systemic racism. That set black people back. You know, things like redlining, things like blockbusting, things like the legacy of slavery that still permeates through all of our institutions, whether it be the criminal justice system. That's it. There's no two ways about it. There's no mix and matching. You either believe that there are intrinsic factors and you're racist, or you think that there are extrinsic factors and you believe in systemic racism. Ben Shapiro, of course, believes in intrinsic factors, but is too much of a coward to openly state it. It's that easy. CRT explains the extrinsic factors to people, or CRT in the way that conservatives believe what CRT is, which is talking about, the foundations of slavery or the foundations of the United States government and how it placed the interests of landowning white men over the interests of other people. These sorts of things are basically a part of modern education, or should be a part of modern education, because it's an accurate depiction of events that happened throughout history. But Republicans don't want that to happen, and they call it CRT, and they say it's bad, and that we should stop this from, we should stop people from becoming educated on these matters. Okay? Let's keep going.
To tear down these systems in order to alleviate the racism that's implicit in those systems. When it comes to schools, what this tends to boil down to is kids who are white have experienced privilege because the system was built for white people, and we have to change the standards.
Right. Now, okay, well, so Malcolm, you tell me your definition.
Oh, I agree with everything he just said.
Oh, great.
And I appreciate you being honest and defining of what it's like to be Black American, right? That is, I mean, we're talking about a system.
That's not fair.
No, I'm just saying I agree with all of those suppositions because they are grounded in truth. Look, and the funny thing is, it's not just African Americans, right? It's also the Scalp Act of 1749, where for $300 modern dollars, you had to cut off the head or the hair of an Indian to prove that you got them out of the way so they could settle. That's a little bit of American history that people should know about. The Chinese Exclusion Acts of the 1840s. These are things we don't talk about.
It's not true that people don't talk about these things. We all did learn about...
You don't want them talked about?
No, that's not true either.
You want to cancel them?
No, Malcolm, I'm sorry, you're lying. That's lying. It is lying. I've personally talked about many of the things that you just mentioned. I define critical race theory by citing the actual authors of critical race theory, and you seem to be a pretty good beneficiary of the meritocracy because you have merit, Malcolm. So if you're going to criticize the meritocracy as an outgrowth of white supremacy, then you're going to have to tear down the system that you've succeeded in because you have merit, or do not have merit.
You know, when my great-great-grandfather ran away from slavery to join the 111th...
Ben Shapiro is once again trying to do the classic, well, you have benefited from the system, like you have actually overcame it. The real term that he's supposed to, the real thing that he's supposed to say is you overcame the problems that you choose to address for other Americans, Black Americans, who unfortunately have not been able to overcome such problems. Every single African descendant of slaves in this country is 1.5 generations removed from abject poverty, dude. Think about that information whenever you try to act like systemic racism isn't fucking real. Like every single African descendant of slaves in this country, I'm going to repeat that again, is 1.5 generations removed from complete destitute circumstances. Think about that for a moment. That's insane. You either look at that and go, yeah, that's because they're flawed and they have, problems with inferior genes, intrinsic factors. Or you look at that and go, maybe that's because of slavery and the legacy of slavery, not offering reparations to Black folk that were freed in Reconstruction, utilizing Black folk that were recently freed as a cudgel against the white working masses at the time to continue their subjugation personally and a lifetime of indentured servitude for them, so they could turn around and be like, well, at least I'm not an N-word, according to Ta-Nehisi Coates, which is he has a really good he's written extensively on this particular matter. Okay, the difference between or the way that Black people in the Reconstruction era were used against the white working class with respect to using them as a red herring, or using Black people as a way to stop white working class members from recognizing their place in society with respect to the bourgeois capital owning class. Like this is all baked into America's history.
Love you, Hassie.
Okay? All of this stuff is baked into America's history. Civil War ended in 1865. That's more than 1.5 generations ago. Yeah. Except I'm also talking about Jim Crow South and Jim Crow North. So that's what I mean. And 1.5 generations doesn't mean 1990s. It means the 60s. We're talking about 2 generations. Fuck it. Let's say 2 generations. You can't unironically say racism ended with the abolition of slavery, right? I'm literally giving you examples as to how they continued and how they continue to this day. Slavery never even fully ended in this country. Slavery was not permanently abolished. Under the 13th Amendment, you can still enslave folks as long as they have violated a law. Slavery has not been fully abolished in this country. We still have slave labor. We have the war on poverty and the war on drugs that locked up Black people all around the country and continued their slavery. Okay? So when you say slavery ended in this country in the aftermath of the Civil War, you're wrong. We have a prison slave labor population. It's not an accident that we house 25% of the entire world's incarcerated population. It's a higher percentage than China. It's certainly a higher percentage than North Korea. It's the highest percentage per capita number on the fucking planet. And yet we're supposed to be the freest country on the planet. Yeah, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime. We have an industry that relies on a new crop of young black and brown men trying to escape the conditions, the socioeconomic conditions that we have placed them under by using, black market and illegal methods to uplift themselves and to, create a better future for themselves, because there's no other opportunity for them. And then we fucking jail them and turn them into slaves. Once again. Just because Malcom Nance was able to overcome that horrific history does not mean that he should sit there and continue that oppressive structure that harms others that look like him. Okay? Doing crimes equals alternative way of work. Great take. 10-month subscriber. You can't possibly act like people that live in inner cities have all of the same opportunities like fucking white kids have growing up in like relatively wealthy families that benefited from aw man is right, you dumb fuck, that benefited from intergenerational wealth development in the aftermath of the GI Bill, that were able to fucking buy homes and take advantage of the single most important factor in generating intergenerational wealth. When black people were not able to do that, when black neighborhoods were redlined on purpose, when black people were pushed aside on purpose, when they don't still to this day have the same job opportunities, you're not going to sit here and be like, yeah, that's really fucked up. I can't believe you're excusing crime. I'm not. It's just one avenue that they have to take matters into their own fucking hands, dude. It's not that easy, and it's not that simple to just like go to your school that is completely underfunded, that has no after school programs, and you're surrounded by others who are telling you like, well, this shit sucks. And this shit does fucking suck. You have no opportunities. You have no pathway towards a better education. And then you fucking turn around and you find yourself doing illegal things in an effort to continue surviving. The fuck?
Even if you don't get a haircut,
anyway,
you should still support your local barber or hairdresser.
Anyway, let's keep going.
U.S. colored troops and fight against the South, keeping human beings as slaves. He didn't think, you know what, in 150 years, my great-great-grandson's gonna have to sit on stage and argue with a guy who thinks all that's bullshit. All right? I'm just saying,
Malcolm,
there is no controversy. The controversy that's made up is people saying that this is being discussed.
The left will do anything to justify the degeneration of values. We stray further from God's life every day. Shaking my head. You're literally a Twitch chatter. You are literally the most degenerate subhuman hedonist, like in comparison to the rest of civilized society. Like, and so am I, by the way. Like, at least know that we are rotting in the same kind of filth, you dumb fuck. God has abandoned us, okay? If God ever existed, he abandoned us a long fucking time ago, okay? And God certainly abandoned you.
I'm gonna come Trump.
This is being taught in schools, and that kids should be kept away from it.
That's not true.
It's not even a real controversy.
Malcolm, the 5th largest school district in America, Clark County, just decided that they were going to lower standards with regard to testing because they wanted to alleviate disparities in outcomes. That is an outgrowth of critical race theory.
Can you draw a straight line to it?
Yes.
Really?
100%. Because when you say that the meritocracy is an outgrowth of white supremacy, and then you suggest that I'm somehow denying that slavery took place or that your great-great-great-grandfather was a hero because I'm saying that I want people tested when they are in school to see if they are good at school, then what you're purporting to push now is just nonsense. And it's sheer bullshit, Malcolm. It's just bullshit.
No, but I think it's...
I want to hear what Ben's argument was, because knowing Ben, it's probably a lie. So let's take a look. What did he say, chat? What is the story that he's referencing?
School district in America, Clark County.
Clark County. Let's take a look at what's going on there, because this is a classic Ben tactic, okay? In Clark County, black students lack access to opportunities. State budget cuts makes it worse. Wait, where is the lowering test op? The only thing I can find is like people talking about how black students lack access to opportunities and state budget cuts makes it worse in a fucking town hall. Yeah, it's Vegas, of course. It's terrible. The Las Vegas Review-Journal says CCSD superintendent defends new grading policy at back-to-school event. Clark County School District Superintendent Jesus Jara defended the grading reform during a back-to-school address on Tuesday, calling it an equitable system for all students. Over the summer, the school board voted to change the district's grading policy. It will allow students to revise assignments and retake tests, and it will eliminate some behavioral factors like attendance and participation from grades. Wait, so what? Wait, I'm confused. That's what he's referencing? That's what a fucking inappropriate depiction of what is actually going on. This is not along racial lines, dude. What? About 35% of the school leaders identify as Black, Latino, Asian, Pacific Islander, Native American, multiracial. As for facilities, Jar said the new campus will be opening. Wait. I bet they lowered standards because of budget cuts that because things like tutoring programs and special classes lowered all student outcomes. Wait, I'm so confused. So what Ben Shapiro is saying is a total fabrication. It's not true. This is just by people who were doing like distance learning. And it might even change as a consequence of like what happens with the CDC guidelines changing and like who can come back to school and whatnot. Okay, all students will be issued a district-owned device, and the district will subsidize internet access to families without it. So not a single part of this says specifies black people or black kids. Ben made a claim here. Okay?
That's not true.
It's not even a real controversy.
Malcolm, the 5th largest school district in America, Clark County, just decided that they were going to lower standards with regard to testing because they wanted to alleviate disparities in outcomes. That is an outgrowth of critical...
Okay, so he's right about that, but he never... He's bringing this up in a conversation about, like, oh my God, this is so deceptive. He didn't mention black students. He made this as a consequence. Like, he brought it up to say that critical race theory is like lowering standards so that you think like Clark County, the 5th largest school district, is actually lowering standards for black kids because of CRT. Like the implication there and the reason for why he mentioned this information is to say, like, you know, they're lowering the county's guidelines for black kids. And if you push him on that, he'll say, I never mentioned black kids. I just mentioned CRT. You're the one who mentioned black kids. It's like, well, why did you bring this up then? Because the real reason for why they did this is because of distance learning, and regrading tests and allowing kids to fucking relearn certain concepts they were unable to learn because they didn't have access to the same fucking resources. So you're the one who basically tied it to black students or CRT in general. This is actually an important thing that they're doing, and one band-aid measure to like alleviate some of the problems that were created by COVID. It's so disingenuous to bring this up and make it seem like it's just you know, it's happening because of CRT or because like or it's happening to black students. That's really fucked up. I wonder why he brought that up.
Race theory.
Can you draw a straight line to it?
Yes.
Really?
100%. Because when you say that the meritocracy is an outgrowth of white supremacy, and then you suggest that I'm somehow denying that slavery took place or that your great-great-great-grandfather was a hero because I'm saying that I...
That's really interesting, though. That's really interesting that he, like, made this argument that is completely ridiculous. Completely fucking ridiculous.
I want people tested when they are
and now he follows through by saying, like, well, that means, like, because of this, like, random information that I delivered to you that you will that I hope you will assume is about, like, black kids getting their test scores lowered because of CRT, which is completely a falsehood. You think I don't think your grandfather was a hero? He never said that.
In school to see if they are good at school. Then what you're purporting to push now is just nonsense. And it's sheer bullshit, Malcolm. It's just bullshit.
No, but I think it's also a leap to say that he thought that was bullshit, because that's not what it is. I mean, are we talking about 2020?
So now you need to, here's why debating is fucking silly. Are you ready for this? Here's why debating sucks. Because one, you need to know what Ben Shapiro's common talking point is, right? Like, he fucking pulled that shit out of his ass, but he's probably used that ahead of time. You need to know that. You need to then research the actual truth behind, like, the talking point that he delivered to you. And then you have to turn around and be like, well, what you're talking about is a measure that they put in place that's a changing measure, that's like a living document, as the district supervisor said. And they're doing it just for COVID and distance learning. So you need to know that he's going to bring that up, and then you need to, like, stop the conversation and correct the record. And then if you turn around and be like, so why did you bring that up about CRT when it's completely irrelevant to the CRT conversation? Did you imply that this was supposed to be about black kids getting their test scores lowered? Like, why did you fucking bring it up? Then he will turn around and be like, that's not what I said. You're the one who said that it's black kids. I'm not talking about black kids. And then the conversation will turn around and go down a rabbit hole that Ben wanted to take you to. But he's confident, and he spoke fast, and he gave you a piece of information that if you don't immediately know how to address, you're fucked. This is why debating is stupid, especially debating like conservative propagandists like this.
21, are we talking about 1861? Because
the point is, can we talk about 1861 and 2021?
Yes, we can. And
you just did.
I don't know who's against talking about history.
Well, I mean, I understand that they want to, in Texas, they're talking about removing references to the Ku Klux Klan. They're talking about removing. Well, I mean, come on.
That's Texas.
How can you watch Forrest Gump without even knowing who Nathan Bedford Forrest is, right? I mean, these are people who are historical figures who did bad things. No one is actually saying we want to go back and erase everything and restart. And
that's just Texas, says Bill Maher, dude. That's a painfully white statement, dude. Yeah, just one of the fucking largest states in the country with one of the largest black and brown populations. Fuck it. They're just not teaching. The teachers no longer have to tell you that the Ku Klux Klan was immoral, like that was taken out of the subject matter. Yeah, it's just Texas, bro. Come on, that's just Texas. Whatever, dude. Fuck it. Larger than like most countries, dog. What the fuck? And it's not just Texas. There are plenty of other fucking states are doing similar things. So
talk to you about these things. Critical race theory is a subject because the Republican right has made it a subject. No real school organizations are mandating this for kids.
I hope every Democrat in America takes your perspective, and they will be shellacked at the polls. Roy Teixeira just wrote a piece, the emerging Democrat majority, Roy Teixeira, he just wrote a piece about what he called the Fox News fallacy, a tendency of people on the left to believe that just because Fox News mentions something, it can't be real. The reality is a lot of this stuff.
No, it is real because Fox News makes it real because Fox News targets 90% of Republican voters. Like Republican voters all get 90% of Republican voters, or like 85% or something. Like, it's an overwhelming majority of Republicans get their source of news from a single source. That news is Fox News. So when Fox News decides, and this was why Fox News was created to begin with, to like dictate what the party does as a propaganda outlet for the Republican Party, created by Moore at the time, that or was it Moore? What the fuck was his name? It was Roger Moore, right? Who was a Republican policy consultant Roger Ailes, not Moore, sorry. Roger Ailes, not Rupert Murdoch, guys. Roger Ailes, who was a Republican lobbyist at the time. He was like a policy advisor. It was created specifically so that they could fulfill a 24/7 news entertainment, like news and infotainment broadcast network that was going to do exclusively op-eds, and they were going to lead the Republican Party, and they were going to propagandize Republican positions. And they did that with the express purpose, and they were very successful. And that's precisely what they do. They create wedge issues and hammer on outrage around those wedge issues, and that's precisely why you never hear about fucking freedom of speech in college campuses. That's no longer the hot button issue. That's something that Ben Shapiro used to fucking argue about a lot. Why do you never hear him talk about it? You never hear about Antifa. That was a big deal too. Did Antifa go away? Well, kind of, I guess. When there's no FA to fucking fight against, there's no Antifa. But that was the big issue, and no longer are people talking about that. Now, this year's Antifa is CRT, and that is something that Fox News does. That's why they're very powerful. They're very, very good at dictating the conversation. And because there's no countermeasure, no counterbalance on the Democrat side, there's no like liberal Fox News. There's no way to create our own kind of fucking propaganda. So all mainstream media that operates on the internet and all around basically are just in a holding pattern addressing the fucking psychotic outrage that Republicans are creating. That's pretty much it. That's how this works.
Is taught in schools.
You mean like viruses?
Well, okay.
Well,
Can I?
Now I'm just.
I don't know.
Now I'm just confused.
Can I just,
what you're talking
as far
about.
as what people are experiencing in their lives, in their schools?
Yeah.
CNN is not as deliberate with working alongside the Democratic Party, though. If that was the case, they wouldn't unironically fucking turn around and hammer Biden from the right with like reactionary points of view. Okay? Do you not understand that? I mean, the one thing you can say is like MSNBC with Russiagate and CNN with Russiagate. That was definitely one way that they like tried to do a similar thing that Republicans do, for sure. Okay, a lot of like mainstream media did take a real thing that happened and greatly exaggerated it to the point where like it broke so many people's brains. Okay, that it created like the liberal version of QAnon, which is nowhere near as impactful as QAnon or nowhere near as damaging as QAnon. Let's be real. But ultimately, that's not dictated towards a specific piece of policy position that will galvanize and embolden the Democratic Party's base in the same way that CRT does. Okay? Do you understand? Because CNN's main goal, its modus operandi, is ratings, increasing ratings, no matter what the cost. Okay? That's why they aired Donald Trump rallies nonstop, uninterrupted for 45 minutes to an hour in the beginning of the election cycle in like 2015. They care more about ratings than anything else. Fox News, on the other hand, cares about ratings, but also cares about guiding the Republican Party. Also, the main guy that created the CRT thing openly admitted. This is Christopher Rufo of the Manhattan Institute. This is where like the CRT debate comes from. This is the main guy. He went on Tucker and basically like, you know, kick-started this like CRT narrative. He openly admits like we froze the brand critical race theory into public conversation and are steadily driving up negative perceptions. We will eventually turn it toxic as we put all of the various cultural insanities under that brand category. So there it is. Like, this is Christopher Rufo personally admitting, the guy who like created the CRT debates and the CRT narrative, openly admitting that this was a way to like, you know, propagandize whatever the fuck Republicans wanted to. And before CRT was Antifa. And before Antifa, it was free speech, or it was trans people in bathrooms. And now it's also CRT and simultaneously trans athletes. They do this all the time. It was the migrant caravan. Exactly. It was the herd of immigrants that are coming in. And that's always how this works. And they're very successful. They will always, because they will always find a new thing to propagandize every fucking day. And you know, create outrage, manufacture outrage every fucking day. Because the Republican attitude is based within fear. It's rooted within emotions and fear. And that's how you manipulate the millions of Republicans that go out and fucking vote. Some of them don't work, like Mr. Potato Head, okay? Or even like Aunt Jemima getting taken off the syrup bottle. And then they move on. If it doesn't hit, they move on. They move on to CRT, and CRT did work. And that's why you see fucking, you know, parents going to PTA meetings and like screaming at their school boards and shit because their child is learning about, you know, the experience of slaves within the antebellum South or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's unacceptable, dude. What the fuck? That's crazy. It's CRT. Let's keep going. Yeah.
Okay, you're right. There are states like from the old Confederacy, I think, who do want to airbrush history. That's not, I think, the majority in this country. No. If you ask me critical race theory, if you say, does that mean teach history unvarnished? I would say yes. Then I'm totally for critical race theory. If you say, does it mean acknowledging that racism persists today? I would say yes. Teach that. Should we have remedial means? That's like affirmative action. There's lots of people who are against that. I'm still for that. I still think when you read the statistics, and I have some of them here, blacks earn 40% less, 90% less family wealth, high poverty high schools,
Yeah, like this is a great opportunity for Bill Maher if he was an honest broker, okay? And not just like a fucking disillusioned boomer who likes to just hear his own voice come out of his stupid fucking flappy gums. He would turn around and ask Ben Shapiro, after these facts are addressed, Ben, do you feel like black people are operating in comparison to white people at this abysmal level because of some intrinsic factors or because of some extrinsic factors? Is it the systems that have kept them down, or is it because they have some sort of inferiority, whether it be culture? Okay, because Ben will never say race. He'll say it's the culture, it's the culture, it's the fatherlessness culture. It's like, okay, why doesn't it impact white people in a similar capacity? What is the main difference when it comes to welfare that I guess impacts black people differently than white people? What is the main difference when more white people consume rap music than black people? There's more white people in this country, but if it's the culture, like why aren't white people impacted by rap music if it's actually rap music and rap culture? That you know, creates a violent attitude amongst the blacks. What is it? What is it then? Arpan, it's genetic. All the greatest people were white. Wow, that's cool, man. Yeah, let's look at some fucking. I want to show some white superiority. 1 second, dude. Let's show some fucking white genetic superiority. Hold on.
Hi chat. Hello
Let's
chat.
take a look.
Hey chat. Hi chat. Hi chat. Chat.
What was the fucking? I'm trying to find the subreddit. What is it? Oh, it's Behold the Master Race. Oh, here it is. Let's take a look, dude. You know, just man, looking superior, boys. Just looking so superior, dude. All the greatest people, dude.
Do not come. Do not come.
Love that. Peak physical performance. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm not gonna fucking, I don't want to get owned here, but let's look at the all-time greats, actually. Fuck it. All-time. Look at
Happy
all-time.
to be here.
What the Master Race, dude. That's Nathan Larthern, guys. White supremacist pedophile running for office in Virginia. This is a good one. What neo-Nazis think they look like. What neo-Nazis actually look like. The McPoyle bloodline has been clean and pure for 1,000 years. That's white supremacist James Fields, a terrorist who killed Heather Heyer at the Charlottesville rally. You know, just some master race, dude. So good. The superiority of the white race, dude. They've moved beyond the need for having a chin. Think about that. They've literally evolved beyond our comprehension to be chinless. It's crazy. Man, great superiority there, right there.
72% blacks to 31% white. Live 6 years shorter. Half as likely to go to college. 8 times more incarcerated. These are real statistics. The question is, wait, how do we, what do we do to address them? These are
wonderful.
real statistics. You think we should address them? You think we should address them, right? The question is, what are we doing about it? Because if critical race theory means making children in school fixate on race, I'm not for that. If it's about collective guilt.
Ugh, if it's about this thing that I totally made up, or the worst possible representation, the worst possible, least charitable representation of like adequately teaching kids history. If it's about that, then I'm not for it. Oh, sick, dude. Thank you. If CRT is about teaching children that being white is wrong and being black is correct, then I'm not for that. It's like, okay, well, you just made that up. That's not what this is. So why are you like, are you that desperate for some fucking brownie points from the psychopathic reactionaries, Bill Maher, that you have to like literally go along with their psychotic propaganda about like adequately explaining history to American children that are learning about it in school? Is that really how desperate you are for some fucking claps? I will address this straw man about CRT that Republicans routinely propagandize with, because I am a fucking shitlib who is so desperate for some claps from anyone I can get.
I didn't do anything to your great-great-great-grandfather. I don't want to be responsible for that. If it's about...
The saddest part is that, like, black people that go on Bill Maher's show have to fucking sit there and just take it. You know what I mean? Like, they have to sit there and act like this is somehow different than like every other racist motherfucker who will just say like the N-word. You know what I mean? This is the most polite way that you can counter these fucking narratives, but while still maintaining the exact same position and hegemonic attitude that racist people have. My great grandparents didn't do shit to yours. It's like, dog, that's not the point. Like, why are you even addressing a point that you should be vilifying if you're truly an anti-racist. It's so fucking sad.
You know, a toxicity of just from being born white, if it's about dividing everybody into oppressor and oppressive, oppressed and oppressor, I'm not for that. So there are things that are being taught and are going around that I'm not for, that if that was critical race theory, I wouldn't be for.
I agree with you, and I don't think that's critical race theory.
But it's being, okay.
No, I think
again,
what's happened here
The notion of Scotsman fallacy is very
that what's happened here, as this terminology, sort of like defund the police, has been hijacked and been framed around the left as that they want to do all this, they want to rip down the entire social fabric of America, and they want us to be guilty about everything. I want you to teach history. I had a lot of people in the military. Hold on. I had a lot of people in the military, senior officers who had to make life and death decisions, who were total morons about the cultures and institutions and countries we were going into, and people died because
I have
of
a
that.
question.
I don't need that here.
If we agree that history should be taught, why are you defending critical race theory, which is not history?
Did I not just say a moment ago that I think that term has been hijacked and that's not what we're talking about?
Okay, so let's say critical race theory.
I'm going to go back and repeat that I didn't say that.
Okay.
You are literally defending critical.
I can't argue against the points that you're making, so I'm going to do exactly what every Twitch chatter does and act like you said something entirely different. Here I am, not listening to what you're saying, and instead putting words in your mouth. Except you are obviously not a random college student whose frame can be shattered so easily to make for some sweet, sweet YouTube ad revenue. So you can easily turn around and be like, that's not what I said, and clarify my position. But most of the people that are on my side are not going to recognize that I am deceptively doing this exact same thing. And the reason for why I'm doing it is because I have no other argument. It's great, dude. It's always like this. Every fucking conservative debates in the exact same way, dude.
Critical race theory by redefining it as just teaching history, which is a cheap semantic trick, and you know it.
Is this what you do on your show? Because it sucks.
Oh, he hates that. Oh, that's so good. God, I love watching this fucking piece of shit squirm, dude. It makes me so happy. Look at how mad he is, dude. Look at this little fucking bitch ass, dude. Wait, let's fucking run that back again, boys. Let's run that back again.
Literally defending critical race theory by redefining it as just teaching history, which is a cheap semantic trick, and you know it.
Is this what you do on your show? Because it sucks.
You know, Malcolm, I appreciate that, but I will comfort myself tonight by sleeping on my bed made of money.
I'm sure we have an adult.
Oh God, his retaliation was, I make a lot of money by doing this. Wow, that's really cool, Ben. I love that he was like, actually, well, you know, yes, I do lie. I am a fucking outrage merchant, and I'm a smear merchant, and I lie about all these things, but I make a lot of money doing it. So, okay. So you basically just admitted that, like, you don't give a fuck about the truth, and you deceptively lie to people's faces just so you can make money. All right, got it.
I'm sure we have another adult subject to talk about.
Well, how about that, Andrew?
Yeah, you should have said your mom like you do. Exactly. Yeah, no, precisely. It would have been better if Ben Shapiro was like, just kidding. The only thing I do on my show is your mom. That's right. The only thing I do on this show is your mom. And also the top of the hour, 60-second ad breaks. Those are the two consistent facts that you will get on this stream, hypothetically. What if you were a Twitch chatter, hypothetically speaking, and you came onto a Twitch stream with the expectation that there is not going to be ads at the top of the hour? Well, guess what? You'd be wrong. Now, there is, of course, a way that as a regular Twitch chatter, hypothetically, you'd be able to avoid said ads that come at the top of the hour. And that way is, of course, with a Twitch Prime. Everybody has one of those, most likely, or their parents have an Amazon Prime that they can steal. And that's a free subscription that you can use here to avoid the ads at the top of the hour. Hypothetically speaking, you can also get a $5 subscription or use an ad block or a VPN. But that's the only way that you can avoid the ads at the top of the hour ad break. Here's the ad now. The ad break comes early, just like you did with my mom. Sometimes, dude. Sorry, she got that good pussy. All right, let's keep going.
Cuomo. I tell you, he's.
That's it. Wow. That was an incredible waste of time. Let's look at these fucking comments that are gonna make me want to fucking gouge my eyeballs out. We don't want whitewash history about racism. We also don't want collective guilt for those who didn't do anything wrong. Kudos to Bill Maher on this one. I'm not a fan of his, but he's clearly shown his ability to have a rational conversation with those who he disagrees with. I do give Bill a lot of credit here. It's like, dude, how do you guys not understand? Like, he literally wrote that narrative specifically so you would say this, okay? That's his job. His job is to, like, center himself on a position where, like, you can very easily make a one-sided argument and be correct. And yet you choose not to, and then you address a fucking straw man on the opposing side just so you can get props. That's it. I can literally do that with everything, okay? Bro, you're on the Joe Rogan Celebrated. Read the comments. I did. It's fucking crazy. Okay, I'm done with this shit. Where were we at?